The National Nerds Association presents Are You in the Scoop? Next on the scoop, we are going to be discussing photosynthesis.
What is the purpose of photosynthesis?
Well, the purpose is to keep the plant alive by taking H2O and light to produce oxygen.
What is the overview of photosynthesis?
Well, you see the equation. 6CO2 is carbon dioxide. That combined with 6H2O, which is water, that will help to produce energy and oxygen, being C6H12O6 plus 6O2. The end result, glucose and oxygen. The first part of like reactions takes place in the thylakoid membrane of the chloroplast. What happens in this is the sun comes down and hits the H2O. The H2O splits and the oxygen is expelled. At this point, the electron is in the top of photosystem 2. It is boosted up because it becomes excited. From there, it goes down the electron transport chain. It gets enough energy during this process for the electron then to boost up photosystem 1. From there, it jumps onto the NADPH electron taxi, and it takes it into chemosis. And during this process, ATP is created. Now, there may be some confusion about why photosystem 2 comes before photosystem 1. The only reason for this is because they discovered photosystem 1 first, and then they discovered there was actually a system before it, and so they called it photosystem 2, explaining why 2 is before 1.
Photosynthesis, let's get into this process of chemical reactions and synergy. Photosynthesis, let's get into this discussion.
Professor Eleanor Parent, can we have a moment of your time?
Oh, yes.
We would like to ask you a few questions on the Calvin cycle.
Oh, I was just looking stuff up for that. Okay, here we go. The Calvin cycle, it takes place in the stroma of the chloroplast, which is the tissue that fills the empty space. Electron carrier, NADPH, produced by light reactions, provides the cycle with high energy electrons. These are then used to break down carbon chains and the ATP from the light reactions, which provides chemical energy for the cell. Through the breaking of the carbon chains, energy is released, but glucose is also a product of it as well. And that's the basic process. It's really as simple as that. It's pretty easy to understand. So.
Plant and animal cells use cellular respiration to stay alive during the night and to turn chemical energy into usable energy.
What are the 3 primary steps?
Glycolysis, the citric acid cycle, and oxidative phosphorylation.
So what's the goal of it?
Well, cellular respiration takes glucose and oxygen gas and turns it into carbon dioxide, water, and energy in the form of ATP.
Enabling all living things to be. Photosynthesis, let's get into this discussion of sunlight and...
Professor Eleanor, could we have another moment with you? Could you describe to us the process of glycolysis?
Sure, I was just thinking about glycolysis, sitting here and thinking about it. And basically the process is that glycolysis occurs in the cytoplasm of the cell, which is the liquid that fills it. We start with a 6-carbon molecule chain, and through glycolysis they break apart and produce 2 pyruvate molecules. Every break produces a little bit of energy in the form of ATP. This allows the cell to have a boost of energy and to continue on to the citric acid cycle. NADH, an electron carrier, shuttles high energy electrons into the last stage of the cell and will move slowly until the next step is carried out. From there, CO2 is produced.
Thanks for your time.
Oh yeah, anytime.
An offshoot of glycolysis is fermentation. When the cell runs out of oxygen, it still needs to create ATP. The way it does this is it takes the NADH, takes off an electron, and turns it into an NAD+. Now the NAD+ can enter back in the glycolysis cycle and continue to create ATP. Now the electron that was taken off is added to the pyruvate. It creates pyruvate, and from there that is broken down into lactic acid. That's why when you're working out, you start to feel the burn. That's because the lactic acid is burning your muscle, and it's your body's mechanism to get rid of the electron.
The citric acid cycle occurs in the mitochondria of the cell. Glucose, in the form of 2 pyruvate molecules, is transferred into acetyl-CoA before entering the cycle. Acetyl-CoA enters the cycle. 2 CO2 are produced, as well as 2 ATP. NADH and FADH2 electron carriers transfer the high-energy electrons onto oxidative phosphorylation. For oxidative phosphorylation, NADH and FADH2 electron carriers drop off the electrons in a protein. The high energy of the electrons allows hydrogen ions to go through into the intermembrane space. The electrons continue on their way to the second protein. The same thing happens here. More hydrogen ions go through. Once it hits the third protein, hydrogen ions pop through, but CO2 combines with the electrons and produces H2O. That exits the cell. Hydrogen ions want to even out, so they go through ATP synthase and go through to even out, creating ATP.
1, 2, 3, it's photosynthesis, you see. Plants take light energy and turn it into their yummies. You will know each process of the flow when you listen to my notes, so please enjoy the show. Packets of energy, they have visible light, and the light we can't see. These go-to leaves absorb all light but green, which reflects into our eyes, and that's how we see. Chlorophyll and carotenoids absorb all the light on the thylakoid. Excitation energy transfers the electron from the reaction center to the electron acceptor. Another reaction is triggered. The reaction center is short by 1 electron. Water breaks down, gives the center 1 E, and produces oxygen, which is what we breathe. And there's ETS, it's like ETC, but it's in the chloroplast and makes plants ATP. Protons make a concentration gradient, go through ATC synthase, just like ETC. NADPH is made after ATP. Through another ETS goes the re-energized E. A hydrogen ion with the traveling E forms an ADPH when transferred into an ADP. Free CO2 from the air enter the Calvin cycle and play out from there. 6 ATP power the reaction. 6 NADPH provide a source of hydrogen. 1, 2, 3, it's photosynthesis, you see. Plants take light